So, good evening. This is the second video of the reassembly of my H55F transmission. So here you see me cleaning it up. Nothing special to see. This is the gear that I had to replace from the fifth gear. It has been damaged while we're moving with the wrong puller. So there you see me putting it back in place. This small ball is very important to keep this ring in place. And I have my manual on the iPad. That's why I'm always looking at the screen. The synchronization rings, there are, I think, 3 of them in the whole transmission assembly. 2 in the main body and 1 in the fifth gear. This is a little bit tricky to get this right, this part. There are these spring rings thingies that have to be put in place. And this is the main shaft. It's input shaft and it's split in 2. So it's input shaft and output shaft. And in the middle you have a bearing that you will see me replace a little bit later. This is the idler shaft. There's this small part that holds it in place. And a snap ring on the inside of the transmission case. This is a little bit of fiddling around, but it's no problem really to get this in place. You have to be careful not to damage the gears. And then you can put the bearings back in place. I found it personally more complicated to get the bearings out than to put them back in. They went in quite easy. It was a lot worse to pull them out because I didn't have the right puller, as you saw maybe in the previous video of the disassembly. And always talk to the right, always put the screws in the right torque. So this is the small gear of a fifth gear that I'm putting back in place there. You can hammer it in. Always, it's also written in the manual, always put the weight on the other side of the shaft. It's a little bit difficult to explain. Not just hammer on one side of this shaft because you will damage the bearings. You have to have a counterweight. A big hammer does the job on the other side of the shaft to put less stress on the bearings because you have this sideways impact when you hammer on it. Okay, this is the fifth gear assembly already. And always test things and check that everything is moving easy and put back in place. And always check if the gears are perfectly aligned. Because when that's not the case, and you have a gap on one side of the gears and it's maybe not perfectly aligned, you have done something wrong. Oh yeah, on the Zoom session we have Corona times. We had some meeting there on the Zoom. That's why the iPhone is lying. Okay. The cover of the main transmission is already on, but there was nothing too complicated. The assembly was quite easy. It's now the bell housing. And now I'm about to put it back under the car. Yeah, this is, I didn't replace this part. I wasn't sure if it fits, because it was a little bit different than the old one on the car, so I wasn't quite sure if it's the right part, so I just left it. I left the old one in place. Now I put the main transmission back in place as soon as the car is ready. And the transfer case will be assembled later under the car. That's because of the weight. It's a lot easier to get it in place. Not only because of the weight, but mainly but you have a lot more space when you just install the main transmission and then install the transfer case under the car. You see, I can do this job by myself. It would have been easier to be 2 people, but it worked out quite well. Fiddling around with a cheap jack. You should use a proper one, but yeah, I used what I could, what I had could put my hands on. So you see me doing a lot of checking in the manual and look if everything aligns right. That's the main thing. Better check twice. And don't try to push in the bell housing. Oh, my mic is moving. Don't push in the bell housing using just put the screws on and push it in. That's not good, because it will damage the pilot bearing on the engine side. It has to slide in very easy. And once it has slide in and it's on the right place, then you can put the screws on. But it has to be a perfect fit, because before you put the bell housing screws on. Okay, there this mounted. It all worked out well. Now this is easy stuff. Nothing really to explain here. It's all obvious. There you see me putting the clutch, how do you call this? The cylinder that puts pressure on the clutch. You see me putting it back in place. You have to be careful when disassembling it, because it will pop out and you will have to bleed it, because yeah, I was careful, so it didn't pop out, and I just had to put it back in place. I used zip ties to keep it in place. Okay, this is the transfer case. I checked the bearing on the 4-wheel drive side. For the front axle it was good, the bearing, so I didn't have to replace it. That saved me a lot of work. I just replaced the seal. And lubricate everything. Don't forget to put oil everywhere. The kit provided me with a new nut, the overhaul kit, so that's always good. I used the vise to torque the nut, and then secured it. Be careful when you use the screwdriver to remove the old gasket. You will likely damage your case. I was careful, so no problem there. And just cleaned everything off, as you always should do. Yeah. Okay, remove the next seal. Put the new one back in place. I do this with a hammer. It's not ideal. You want to use the right tool to do this, but it worked out. When you are careful, it will do the job. Okay, there's a sensor. Put a new O-ring on it. I dried this up because it was very moist outside, and I had to dry stuff, so that's why I used the blower. Okay, this bearing went on quite easy, no problem there. Just be careful to use the right spacers there. Cleaned everything up. There was a little bit of rust there already, because the oil has been removed, and with the moistness it was already rusting again. So new gasket, a little bit of this liquid gasket stuff just to seal it tight. And ready to put the transfer case in place. With the plastic hammer you can just hammer it on. It should slide in quite easy. If it doesn't do that, you are very likely to have a problem. So always check it when it doesn't slide in. Tighten it to the right torque. Clean it up. Remove the old gasket. I could have cut this. It's not too interesting. Yeah, there was this ring. It's just mounted there. I don't know how to call this thing. It's just part of the case. Actually, it's the outer ring of the bearing, which we will see now. So this shaft goes in there. Okay, I removed this. It hasn't been rebuilt yet. starting this now. Just use the puller, it went off quite easy without any damage. Just unscrewed everything there. You have to be careful to look where everything goes, because you have to put it back in place later. There are these strange gears and stuff to for the speedometer. Okay, I used the press to get rid of the bearings. This just worked very nice. No problem at all. Just one thing I did wrong there. You will see it later when I reinstall it. These two bearings on this shaft are different sized, but you don't see it at first sight. You have to look careful, to look close, and yeah. So I installed these bearings that I'm holding in my hand now. There are one on each side, and I didn't notice that they are different sized. So I had to remove them and put them in reverse. Yeah, because I was stupid. I didn't pay attention there. So be alarmed, be careful. Heads up. These two bearings are different sizes. Even if you don't see it at first glance, but when you look close, you will see it. I saw it when I tried to install it in the transfer case under the car, and it didn't fit quite well. The gears were in the line. So this is the inner bearing. I just removed it with a screwdriver. It worked well. And put the new one back in with the press. You just have to have this cheap hydraulic press. It works great. It's not expensive and great for the job. Okay, again, put everything in there. Press it on the shaft. The snap ring has to be in place. Nothing special here.
In the Chinese place.
Again, I disassembled this again because these two bearings on the shaft that you see right now were I put them in wrong. They are different sizes, and I didn't do this right. So I had to do it twice. Be careful. Remove the old gasket. You know that stuff. New ring. This seals the output shaft. Clean the case. Okay, this ring is important. Don't forget to put it back on. There's a new one provided in the overhaul kit with these bearings that you see right now. You just put in the new ones and you are good to go. It's a little bit tricky to install this back under the car because you have to install it in the right order. There are 3 shafts in the transfer case. First one, as far as I remember, is the idler shaft, and then you have to see what fits next. I put this idler shaft is put in the wrong order, in reverse, so it's not right. It's wrong. This shaft that is sticking out, where I put these 2 gears on now, I had to remove it and put it back in reverse. This O-ring is not shown in the manual, at least I didn't see it, so be careful there. Okay, this was easy. You will see later. I will show you where I put in this idler shaft the wrong way. You will see how it's done right. Okay, this is all okay. This shaft I had to remove it again. I told you already because I put the bearings in the wrong way. Okay, this is the shaft. I already fixed it, so I took it out again and I put it in the right way. There's a screw where there's a piece of metal that holds it in place. And you will see what I mean once you will have to remove it. Okay, two covers. Just put new seal on them, new gasket, and everything's fine. This is how the shift stick is installed. There's this ring, the spring-loaded ring that you just push down and turn it clockwise or counterclockwise, and it holds the stick in place. Okay, there I'm already testing the car, and everything works fine. The four-wheel drive is engaged. Now it's disengaged. That's perfect. Now I shift through the gears. I wasn't on a public road there, so that's okay to use the mobile phone while driving. Okay, and it's towing again. So, thanks for watching. Be careful. I'm not a professional. This is not a how-to video, but just how I did it. You will find a lot of things I did wrong, and we will see how long it holds up. Thanks for watching. See you.